Are the Baylor Bears about to become the BAMA bounce back program? Let's get locked on Baylor.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Bears fans. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Baylor, brought to you by FanDuel and part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. I'm your host, Cam Stewart of ESPN Central Texas and the Cam Show on YouTube, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. Appreciate you making it your first listen today and every day. I hope you appreciated me trying that. I almost got there. With that alliteration. But we are, of course, talking portal today. We do have an exit for Baylor and some guys not only with interest, but are on campus looking at the Bears, how those are going to fill their needs. We'll, of course, talk about all of that, plus a little bit of breaking news just before I started recording this on the Baylor uniforms for the Texas Bowl. And are we starting to see a bit of a trend with a new name being thrown into the college football coaching search? Is this going to become more like the NFL than ever before? All that and more coming up on this episode of Locked On Baylor. Let's talk about the good before we get to the not as great part of the transfer portal for the Bears, is that they hosted four guys yesterday who are all getting some pretty good traction in the portal. We talked about Ty Buchanan at the end of last week, the guard from Tech who came in as well. But of the other three that are there, the name that sticks out, or maybe more importantly, the school that sticks out, is Prentice, the wide receiver coming in from Alabama. And anytime you see an Alabama guy entering into the portal and he's coming to visit your school, it looks like good news, especially one that was recruited by Nick Saban and, was playing at that championship level before Saban retired and Kalen DeBoer makes of this program what he will. Back when Alabama was Alabama, when they would make the college football playoff and win conference championships and compete for the national championship. Look, I don't know. I don't know where Kalen DeBoer's got them going right now, but this kid, Prentice, was a part of this the last couple of years at Alabama. Now he comes in with only 1 year of eligibility remaining, and his numbers don't exactly jump off the page in Tuscaloosa. Not to say he wasn't productive, but you're just seeing this and you're like, oh, well, this isn't, Isaiah Bond that's going into the portal. Well, no, it's not. But over 3 years at Alabama, he had 60 catches, just under 800 yards, which is, over 12 yards a catch, and 5 touchdowns in 3 seasons. And what is kind of concerning about it is his numbers went down each season. He went from 31 catches as a freshman in 22 to 18 to 11. Now this year he did battle an injury, and one of those that it's tough to tell the timetable and, when he's ready to come back and what he's going to be like when he comes back into the fold. He had a head injury in that loss against Vanderbilt and only had catches in, I think, 2 games after that for the Tide this season. So certainly that would have stunted his season a little bit. And after 1 year of Kalen DeBoer, he's out in the portal and visiting Baylor. And I've said this time and time again, y'all. This is a dream situation, I would think, for a big play wide receiver, for a guy to come in. You just saw a Heisman Trophy winner in this conference who half the time played wide receiver. So, there's some good ball being played in this conference, no matter what the national media is telling you. And here you have one of the best offenses in the country this year, a great OC, terrific quarterback, awesome run game and tight end help so that it's not all the attention being on the X receiver or the Y receiver. It's a team that likes to put up the points and chuck it deep. This feels like such a natural fit for any real playmaker looking to further their college career. And certainly this would be the case for a kid like Prentice because, look at the numbers. They're not great at Alabama, but there's a reason he was signing on with Nick Saban at Alabama. Okay. He was a 4-star out of high school. On 3 had him as the number 73 player in the country in the class of 2022 and was making a real impact as a true freshman. Okay. 31 catches, a couple of touchdowns as a freshman at Alabama playing for Nick Saban. That is nothing to sneeze at. Now, this is where I feel like, and I said this a lot last year, even when Baylor was not that desirable a destination in the portal, was over the course of time, Baylor should be a good bounce back spot. It should be good for guys who are ready to take that next step. A guy like Daquan Finn didn't really work out, but mid-major guy who had a ton of success and is ready to take that into the Power Four. But it also should be a good destination for bounce back guys. And the specific example I would always say was, those 4 or 5-star guys who go to the SEC, they don't get the snaps that they want. Maybe they're a little disgruntled. Here's a shot to play at a program in the Power Four who is now getting better, has a history of putting guys in the NFL, a coach with a history of putting guys in the NFL, both on the offensive and defensive side, be it that coach being Jake Spavital or Dave Aranda. So it's a good spot to go. And I'm hoping Kobe Prentice can come back to Power Four, to Baylor, and show why he was one of the top receiver recruits in America, and show why he was a 4-star guy coming out of high school, and is still a high 3-star guy in terms of the portal rankings for both On3 and for 247. So it's not like they're like, it's really just taking a flyer. No, I mean, this kid can still produce. You just need to get it out of him again. In fact, his numbers at 3 years at Alabama are better than Michael Trigg's numbers coming into Baylor this year. And we saw what a difference maker Michael Trigg can be, and hopefully will continue to be. That was another guy who was very highly recruited out of high school, had tried 2 different spots, both the Big Ten and the SEC, if you could say that, with USC and Ole Miss. Of course, USC was still in the pack, and needed another shot and wasn't getting the shine, needed another shot. He's turned it around at Baylor. Steve Linton on the defensive side is another one. Maybe Kobe Prentice can be the next one. For every one of those Michael Triggs, you get a Ketron Jackson who just didn't quite put up the numbers that you would have thought to take that step up at a place like Baylor. Now, again, wide receiver is a big position that they need to look for. And of the guys in the portal, according to On3, their rankings, the guys who are in the portal who have not committed yet, Kobe Prentice is the number 2 receiver in that group. And a couple spots behind him is this guy, Omega Blake. Now, this is a name I want you to keep an eye on, okay? Hasn't seen a bunch of Baylor interest yet. It's been Tennessee, I think, was one. Someone else in the Power Four was looking at him. But it's like the Irish version. Mega Blake, coming from Charlotte, was playing for Biff Poggi for the 49ers. And this kid is one of the best deep ball threats in the nation this year. Only 32 catches for just about 800 yards, and that's 25 yards a catch with 9 touchdowns. Okay, the guy is a burner. He's got at least one more year of eligibility, fast as lightning, and gets open down the field. And as much as we keep linking this Jake Spavital, Sawyer Robertson offense to those Bryles offenses of a decade ago, which there's a lot of similarities there, like our Bryles would have been banging down Omega Blake's door. Like, this is the exact guy he was looking for, right? Under-recruited, plays in the American, skinny, 6'2", 180, but fast as lightning, gets open and catches the football and scores touchdowns. He had a game this year against FAU where he had 5 catches for 205 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's like Randy Moss Thanksgiving numbers. By the way, prayers up, Randy Moss. 41 yards a catch in that game on 5 catches. The next game after that, the last game of the season, he had 2 catches for 73 and a touchdown. That's 36.5 yards a catch. Like, he is one of the great deep ball threats in college football. Why wouldn't you want to come play for Jake Spavital and with Sawyer Robertson? I mean, the things that can open up, because truly Baylor did not have like a great deep threat this year at receiver, right? Josh Cameron was a threat anywhere on the field. I think you could say the same about Hal Presley. Monterey Baldwin probably should have been that guy and certainly made some plays this year, but I wouldn't say you were like, all right, Monterey, go deep post every time. I think this is a guy that you could add in Omega Blake who would absolutely fit that. But again, we haven't seen the Baylor interest yet, the Baylor offer yet, but I'm telling you, someone to look for. High 3-star portal guy as well. That's where Baylor's looking at wide receiver. Had a couple more very good players on campus today and tomorrow, or yesterday and today, I guess is the better way to put it. Plus who they lost in the portal, because another two actually went into the portal yesterday, but after we talked. We'll tell you who that is coming up next on Locked On Baylor. But first, you guys already know about it, okay? It's that time of year. The college football playoff is back. We've now got the 12-team format, so it's going to be certainly bigger and probably better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting and eye-flying excitement that you love. TNT sports coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st, this Saturday, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show. That's a lot there. Presented by AT&T at 10 a.m. Central Time, which leads into the first matchup, of course, the Ponies of SMU battling Penn State at 11 a.m. Then Clemson looks to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 3 p.m. Central. Don't miss a moment of the action. By the way, it's an all-Texas high school football matchup at quarterback, Cade Klubnik and Quinn Ewers. Watch the CFP presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. And boy, I can't wait to do that college football playoff read next year when we're talking about what time the Baylor Bears game is at. Just saying. Bears did have a couple more impact players in the facility yesterday and today. We talked about Kobe Prentice, Ty Buchanan from Tech. Another one that's catching my attention is Devin Turner from Northwestern. Now, you're probably thinking, oh, Northwestern. Like, do they even play football up there? Well, I would say to you who are saying that, a lot of programs around the country say it about Baylor. Devin Turner, yes, does play college football for the Northwestern Wildcats, and they've made it to a couple conference championship games in the last decade. So I don't feel bad about it. But Turner is coming in as a safety, has played a couple different defensive back positions, but safety is where he's coming in as. And of course, that is a position of need for Baylor at defensive back. They're losing Devin Bobby there. So why not go out there and get another Devin? Well, this would be a really good one to go and get, because he's been a tremendous player for Northwestern this year. In fact, he was one of the best defensive players they had. 51 tackles, 3 picks in this season, including a pick 6 against Luke Altmaier of Illinois. That was at Wrigley Field. So look, I mean, if you're willing to get into Baylor traditions, we love pick 6s against Luke Altmaier. It reminds us of the glory days. So Devin Turner could fit right in there. And he was one of the guys on campus on Monday to check out the facility. In fact, he even got some shine from Ashton Jeanty. Yeah, when he announced he was going into the portal, Ashton Jeanty quote tweeted it and said, "Hey, big things ahead for this guy." I mean, he is one of the top defensive backs that's out there. He's a Texas native from Little Elm. Really wanted to get his academics done. Northwestern, probably going to have a degree from there. He comes in with 1 year of eligibility remaining. And now he's like, I want to play some big-time college football. I'm going to go check out Baylor. He's been a tackle machine, which is good for the player, maybe not necessarily great for the program, that your safety is racking up all these tackles. Had 79 of them in 2023 for a bowl-bound Northwestern team. But again, the 3 picks this year, a couple more passes deflected, passes defended, I should say, and a touchdown, that being the pick 6 against Luke Altmaier. Playmaker on the back end. I really liked the way Devin Bobby came into his own after the first couple of games of the season, weirdly enough, as the rest of the team was coming into things, specifically offensively. Devin Bobby started to find himself defensively. I remember him getting frozen on a couple plays early in the season, but he was certainly a weapon for the Bears and had 2 picks in that final game, right? 2 picks. I think that's right. At least one in the end zone against Kansas. So certainly a guy who kind of found his way throughout the season. Devin Turner can come in and be a veteran guy who has some playmaking experience in the Big Ten, which I love. And another one on the defensive side who was also visiting is Phoenix Johnson. Now, Phoenix Jackson. Too many names in the portal. I got to get better at these names here. Phoenix Jackson in the portal, the linebacker from Fresno State. Now, I saw this come up as someone who was visiting Baylor, and I was like, I feel like I saw that name the other day. Phoenix Jackson. Like that is one that like you recognize that name. Well, it's because multiple outlets had him as being committed to Auburn like 5 or 6 days ago. But now you go to 247 and their crystal ball has, first off, they don't have him committed anywhere. And his crystal ball is 100% on Baylor. All right. I'm here for it. Comes in with at least a year of eligibility. That's what I need most from these portal things. It's just tell me how many years of eligibility, because he's a junior, so it should have 1, but you never know with, 5th years, and I guess they're still handing out some COVIDs. I don't know. But he comes from Fresno State, linebacker, another position we're circling. Baylor doesn't need to replace the whole roster or anything, but there are quite a few positions that they need to bolster up a little bit. And Phoenix Jackson is a guy who comes in with 49 tackles this past year, 30 of them solo, so he can really wrap up and run support, 4 sacks, a forced fumble, and a couple of picks as well, and some more passes defended. So linebacker, that's what I'm looking at. Baylor has not had very many of those the last few years, guys who can defend out in coverage as well. Phoenix Jackson certainly fits that mold. According to PFF, he allowed 19 catches on 23 targets that went out to him, but graded out at a 90.3 in pass coverage. For a middle linebacker, I mean, you'll take that any day of the week. That's actually pretty solid. And he is over 100 tackles in his career with the Bulldogs. Again, now you got to pry him away from Auburn. I was on the Travion Barnes train. If I had to pick one, I'd probably rather pick Barnes from FIU at that same position, but Phoenix Jackson, that's not a lot of drop off to number 2. I mean, he's a guy who can come in. You need someone who can come in and fill a Matt Jones position, or I guess better yet, a Keaton Thomas position, because Keaton Thomas will be filling in the Matt Jones position. But that's a pretty good way to go about it, I would say, with a guy like Phoenix Jackson. And you are going to need some help in the pass rush, because first off, we were highlighting that as a place you needed to improve. And you actually just lost a guy. Trey Wilson went into the portal on a Monday. He and Isaiah Dunson, you remember him from last year, transferred in from Miami at corner. He's out in the portal as well. But Trey Wilson is a name that you'll recognize. Not earth-shattering numbers, but did have 16 total tackles this year. Did get some playing time, but nothing in the backfield. For a defensive end, he had no TFLs, no sacks, no forced fumbles. Had his only sack last year, and it was game 1 of last year against Texas State, and recovered a fumble in that game too, I believe. But had his only sack of the season. That's now 23 games ago. So you're not losing a ton in production there. It's just another body that you need to replace, which is something. I mean, here's a guy who came in. He had some experience playing for Baylor. There's no reason to believe he couldn't take a step up next year. But again, you look at these portal pieces, man, they're all depth pieces. In fact, Trey Wilson probably got the most snaps of he and Abaselli, who just committed to UH, are the guys who got the most snaps this year. Dominic Richardson was at one point the starter, and announced a long time ago he was going into the portal. So another day where Baylor's saying, all right, we've avoided, a starter going into the portal. And now we're only looking to add through this, which is where Baylor needs to be, especially after they were, or where they were the first couple of years under Aranda, where they weren't interested in the portal much at all. Now you're in a position where you're not losing starters and you're gaining starters. You obviously gained a couple last year in Trigg and Keaton Thomas, but you need to help. You need a lot of help in pass rush, and whether that's linebacker or defensive end, you need some help there. Or you also need a nose tackle. You went out and got a nose tackle who can hopefully plug up some holes and allow your guys to get around the edge a little bit easier, the way it was in 2021. So that's the portal update. The Bears also dropped some big breaking news yesterday in terms of the Texas Bowl. And boy, this is going to have the people jumping. That's coming up next on this episode of Locked on Baylor. This episode, of course, which is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, you can view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You're going to get started with $150 in those bonus bets if or when you win that first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Today's episode is also brought to you by PrizePicks, which is once again back with the Locked On Podcast Network. Make your holidays bigger and brighter with PrizePicks, the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. You can now win up to 100 or 1,000 times your money on PrizePicks. Just because of the holiday season, I should say, PrizePicks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas. All right, you guys are sitting down, you're watching all the games anyway. Why not play daily fantasy sports? Win you some money. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE to get $50 off instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's so good, I'm going to say it again. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDON, COLLEGE, to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Big time announcement Monday night, Baylor Bears in the Texas Bowl. There was some people on Twitter that are saying like, oh, we got to get some special bowl uniforms, right? We've got to get a new combo or some awesome new uniforms. And we heard about this a lot a couple years ago when the fans first wanted to kind of revive the blackout against Kansas State. And it's like, y'all, they can't just hop on and just put new uniforms out there like that. That's not how this works. They have a deal with Nike. They can't just week to week put in a new uniform that you did a sick concept of. But what they can do is work with some of the branding they already have. And we all lost our collective fecal matter a month and a half ago now when the basketball team released those throwback uniforms with the script cursive Baylor going across the gold uniforms. And it was like, oh, that is sharp. I went out, got a hoodie right away because I think that's a really cool look. It's kind of a cool branding that not a lot of teams do. It's an easy thing, but not a lot of teams do it. Obviously, we've seen Oklahoma State do it with the script Cowboys, both on basketball uniforms and on football helmets. And I think it looks great. It's so easy to do. Duke did it with their football helmets a few years ago, went back to that style. And it's just such a simple thing that can kind of pop and stand out. And you knew it was a matter of time before football got in on the act. They did a cool video where Langston Love, who did the basketball reveal, texted Sawyer Robertson. They got in the car at the Foster, the old-time car. They picked up the bag, and Sawyer Robertson pulls out the like kind of candy yellow Baylor helmet with the cursive Baylor written across it. Looks good. It looks good, man. I'm not this is where I'm going to get kind of hypocritical. I love the cursive look. I don't love it on a football helmet because I think that's where you should be doing a logo. But like, it doesn't look bad, man. It works. Like, it works. It's just not my favorite thing. And I think that's cool that Baylor's playing up into that and is going to use that in the Texas Bowl. I think it looks sharp. I still think they're going to have the best gold helmet in the Texas Bowl, which is saying something against LSU. But I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't want to be Debbie Downer. I really don't love the uniform combo. So it's that all gold, yellow helmet with the white uniform and the green pants. I don't love a tricolor combination. And if you're going to do that, I would much rather you do gold pants with the gold helmet or just an all gold look, which is interesting that Baylor's going to be wearing white because that's typically LSU's home. So I guess they might be wearing purple. And if that's the case, wear gold, man. Just wear it all gold. Just go into it. Lean into it. But overall, I love that Baylor's doing this and has a helmet like that. Just don't love the uniform combo. Anyway, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I'm interested to hear how Baylor Nation is taking on some new combos, new uniform look, which, by the way, the regular uniforms have grown on me. They're still pretty basic, but I don't mind them. I kind of think the white numbers on the green jersey looks good. Sue me. I think it looks good. One last thing I want to get to before we close out this episode is apparently there is a bidding war right now in college football for head coach Michael Vick. Yeah, it shocked me too, because early on Monday, we heard Norfolk State is going to hire Michael Vick. And it was like, oh, all right. He's never coached before at all. But there's something of a publicity hire there. He's from right down the street, Newport News in Virginia. So that's local hero, legendary player in college and in the pros. Maybe that can help out a program like Norfolk State in FCS. And then later in the day, we hear Sacramento State across the country is now trying to lock down Michael Vick. And I'm like, where did this come from? Who is bidding against Michael Vick? Well, apparently the word out of Sacramento is that Sacramento State is willing to move up to FBS, which I guess they're planning to anyway, move up to FBS and raise their football budget to $20 million. That's the same number that North Carolina is doing. These are not the same schools. These are not the same athletic departments. They do not have the same donors. That would be a huge sign of intent for Sacramento State. Again, Michael Vick, no coaching experience. Does he know how to run some sort of, organization that has something of a sport and money changing hands? Yes, unfortunately he does, but has not coached any kind of football. So that would be interesting. And it leads to a greater point of, is this Belichick thing already starting to see ripple effects? Like, are we going to see colleges going after pro coaches, NFL coaches, NFL players to come in and coach their programs? Like, even Deion Sanders, he was a high school coach that was known for being a NFL guy, but he was not a college coach at any level. He was not a pro coach. So are we starting to see any more of that? Is TCU going to move on from Sonny Dykes next year and hire Jason Witten? This kind of stuff fascinates me from a greater college football standpoint, to see if this is where programs are going to go. Kind of the way baseball did, Major League Baseball. They just started hiring guys who were young, former players. Mark Kotze and David Ross and Gabe Kapler and Rocco Baldelli, guys who hadn't had real coaching or managing experience before. Alex Cora was a bench coach for a while, but kind of that same vein of, are we just going to hire these guys and let them do what they want with it? They know how to play the game, so why not? I don't know. Is that coming to college football? I think it's been mixed results in MLB, and so far, I guess Deion's a success story, but this is a little bit different, pulling from the NFL. Belichick and Michael Vick. Let's I guess we'll wait and see how it goes. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, or if you're listening, tweet at us at Locked On Baylor. But if you are on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a ton when you guys do that. I know most of you who watch and listen every day aren't subscribed. Takes just a second, helps us out a ton. Plus, you can ring that notification bell to get notified every time that we're dropping a video on YouTube. And then after that, wherever you get your podcast. We're going to take a little bit of a look at LSU, I think, tomorrow on your favorite show. Thank you for making it your first listen today and every day. It's Locked On Baylor.